What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about 4 desperate things that guys do that also are used to manipulate women. Real quick before I start, I wanted to remind everybody that if you wanted to check out my podcast with my wife, Elevate with Kevin Ash, you can go to www.patreon.com/KevHick. Again, that's www.patreon.com/KevHick. On there, we talk about relationship goals, relationship issues, and anything involving love and dating. Anyone pledging $2 or more a month can access this podcast, and we plan on releasing about 6 to 8 episodes a month. And pretty soon you'll be able to access it on any podcast app that you already like using. That's it for the announcements. Now on to this topic. I did a video about giving off desperate vibes a while ago, and my comment section was full of women who were a little bit upset that I didn't spend more time talking about the desperate things that men do. I didn't do so at the time because it wasn't relevant to the point of the video, which was perceptions matter, and they affect how people treat you. If you want to be treated a certain way, then you need to present and conduct yourself in a certain way. A way that is conducive to the impression that most effectively leads to that treatment. Listen, the yasses and the praise hands emojis would come in abundance if I bashed a bunch of men for some of y'all entertainment, but it wouldn't help you. My hope with this video is to provide some perspective on the intention of some of men's most desperate behaviors, or at the very least cause you to pay a little bit more attention. The first desperate behavior on this list is begging for, bargaining for, or aggressively pursuing sex with a woman. Listen, I know it may seem like a guy likes you when he gets aggressive about hooking up. Women often think that the men who beg them for their sex is desperate for them and is actively pursuing them, when that's often not the case. They measure his eagerness to be with them physically as genuine interest. And while men do get desperate for sex from particular women, the reasons for that may vary. Women often tell me, boy, you should have seen the way he was pursuing me before we did it. He was so desperate, it was almost cute. Now he won't even return my texts. Listen, ladies, when a man seems so attracted to you that he has to have you physically, but he's not desperate enough to want to spend time with you or hear your voice when he's away from you, you are not being pursued, you're being seduced. Being pursued by a man desperate for you and being seduced by a man desperate for your sex are two different things. As aggressive and persistent as some guys get, as much as some of them may beg to come over, it's important to analyze the goal of their desperate behavior. Because people are desperate for something. They have a goal. A man may be desperate to feel you, and that may seem validating, but don't miss the bigger picture. If he treats you like a race and not a marathon, it's a red flag. Moving on, the second desperate behavior that is often also used to manipulate women is wearing all his money and flaunting all his wealth. Now, this point isn't about guys with money. It's about the guys who are desperate to make sure that you see their money first. The men who flaunt their money often don't feel confident enough in themselves to keep a woman's interest. Peacocking gives instant attention and even credibility to those who place a high value on the flex. They know the chance to benefit from or control a man's money will make some women stick around, even after realizing that he has little else to offer. Women usually dismiss guys fairly quickly if they're not interested enough, but just as many will stick around despite having low interest if a guy shows that he has money. Guys who flaunt their money are often desperate to hide their inadequacies and desperate to be seen as worthy. Many times they are not. The need to be seen as high status is often indicative of a self-esteem issue. Guys obsessed with making sure that you know they have money may play too high a value on status over character. Many of my clients who encounter them are often faced with underdeveloped personalities and stunted emotional intelligence, not to mention jealousy and insecurity. Just like a magician does with the sleight of hand, so do some men who seek to distract you with their money. The men who flaunt their money are desperate to impress women in the most efficient and quick way possible. They're desperate to take a shortcut to a woman's attention without really earning it. Their goal is usually to hook women who are desperate for prosperity. Therefore, these guys are desperate to be judged on their money and not their merits. Moving on, the next desperate behavior that guys also use to manipulate women is excessive compliments or love bombing. The men who are doing this are desperate for your approval, especially with the excessive compliments. They want favor, but they don't realize that many times that favor becomes non-sexual very quickly. Oftentimes, desperate and inexperienced men give excessive compliments because they haven't quite figured out why they keep getting put in the friend zone. They just want your approval, not realizing that sometimes less is more. Even so, the more sinister side of this may look similar but be very different. Sometimes men do this because they're trying to give you a false sense of security. They want to fluff you up because they want something or manipulate you with flattery. It's easy to manipulate the people who feel unloved with false love. Women who feel deprived of acceptance and validation may respond favorably to flattery. These men know that. Being desperate to get over on somebody, these men also love bomb to create a feeling of depth and connection. More often than not, when people rush things in dating, either romantically or emotionally or otherwise, they're serving themselves. And you just have to figure out how and why. The fourth desperate behavior that men often use to manipulate women is gift giving before anything of substance is established. This desperate behavior is meant to buy your attention, affection, and your loyalty. These men often do this to establish priority with women. People who love gifts can be swayed by them. They move fast because they don't always feel good enough about themselves without a bargaining chip like a gift. They feel like women won't stick around long enough to get to know them if they don't establish value quickly. Some seek to make women financially dependent on them in the long term in order to control them and gain a sense of security in the relationship. Tricking off can also be a sign of some deep-seated insecurities. It's often an attempt to obligate or manipulate women into giving them a chance. The purchase of love is commonplace. There's a lot of trophy wives walking around with men because of the gifts they were given. Sometimes these men are good with good intentions but are trying to compensate for their lack of experience or their lack of game. It's best not to accept gifts from any man that you're not sure how you feel about yet. And analyze very deeply any attempts at abundant generosity. The acts of these men aren't as important as the intentions of these men. So pay attention, ladies. That's all I got for now. Follow me at KevHick24 at Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.